Hey foodies, so today I'm gonna try a kind of a cool new idea I had in my head here to do with a big pork loin. I'm gonna try to slice really lean strips and braid this into a pork loin loaf and load it kind of like a chicken cordon bleu would be and bread it like a chicken cordon bleu would be. At first I'm gonna load it, braid it, smoke it, then we're gonna bread it and finish it off with a crispy kind of cordon bleu finish. But we're gonna have some interesting ingredients in it to make it super yummy. So let's get started. Well, right out of the gate, I'm in trouble. I bought a big giant pork loin from Costco because they've got the best meat ever, and it turns out that big giant long pork loin is actually two pork loins. That is gonna potentially foil my plans for big, long, cool, braided meat. But we're gonna pivot, see how far we can get anyway. And if the braids don't work, then we'll still continue to go with a loaded pork loin. First thing we're gonna do here is just take some of this silver meat off. So, I mean, the silver skin is pretty much all gone. Costco's really good about their meat with that, but I'm gonna get some of this fat off of here as well with a fillet knife. Just take some of this stuff off of here. All right, because I don't yet know if I will be able to braid these or not, or if they're gonna just end up being loaves, I'm not gonna slice these in the braids just yet, but I do need to start by getting this whole thing marinated. I want the meat to be super juicy and flavorful, and while it can be just by cooking it, I do want that extra layer of flavor. So I'm gonna slice this right down the middle, best I can, staying as middle as we can with it. Get a little hold of this meat here so I got some resistance. Big long blade like this helps. And I'm not slicing all the way through. I gotta leave a little bit of end to hold the braids together if in fact we do braid it. So there we go, we got that one opened up. And this will again let the marinade get inside really deep. And then if we do slice into braids, that's gonna be fine too. Let's take the second one. Do the same thing. Keep it middle so you can keep fairly even with the amounts of this. All right, and I'll leave about an inch at the end to hold the braid together. And then we are going to get these in a big huge bowl here. Opened up best we can on both of them, and we're going to marinate this. So for the marinade, we are going to I love the taste of teriyaki, but I don't want straight teriyaki, so I'm going to do a mix of teriyaki with some other sweet and sour stuff that goes with pork. All right, so for the marinade, I'm going to use to start with the Yoshida's teriyaki sauce. This is one which obviously has large quantities. I need to cover a large quantity of meat, so I'm gonna use that, but I'm not gonna use that alone. But let's start with some of that. And I want some of the profiles and flavors of the Kinder's organic marinade as well. It's a teriyaki marinade, so it's a thicker one with some more stuff, different kinds of ingredients. I want some of that in there for its profile flavors. And I'm going to use some of this Primal Kitchen organic Hawaii barbecue sauce because, you know, pork, Hawaii, those kinds of flavor profiles, we're going to get some of that in there. And I'm just going to whip these all together and cover the meat up with it. All right, that's all stirred up, ready to go. Optimally, if I had like super large Ziploc bags, not like gallon size, but like super extra large or something like that, optimally would be to put that in a bag with the marinade, lock it down really tight, no air, and just let it sit in it. I don't have any of those, so I'm just gonna let it work in this big bowl today. And I'm gonna let these marinate for 3-4 hours. And then we're gonna come back and work putting the rest of it together before we get it on the smoker. All right, while we're finishing that marination for the last little bit here, we're gonna get some other things ready. I've got the smoker started outside, and I'm going to slice some apples in the food processor here. I'm just gonna put this on low, and run a couple apples through here, get some slices out of it. And we're gonna use these in the middle of the pork. Bam. Might be a little bigger one. Let's see what happens with it. So that should be enough, I think. I might need actually a little bit more apple slices. Pretty quick. Oh. All right. That gave us some really thin apple slices, like about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to use these inside of our pork loin. All right, next I've got those apples sliced up. I'm gonna get some glaze ready that I'm gonna use to glaze this this pork chop with, and this is gonna consist of applesauce. And I'm gonna put this in a Magic Bullet blender here, so I'm gonna whip this down really smooth to a glaze. And you know, applesauce can be kind of thick, and I don't want this thick. I want it to be thin. So I'm gonna do some applesauce. I'm gonna do some 0 sugar barbecue sauce. Get a little bit of that tangy, vinegary kind of flavor out of there. Let's use the rest of this bottle up. I got a few tablespoons left in there. And I'm going to throw a little bit of balsamic in there. Oh, maybe about a tablespoon or so. Like that flavor. And then we're going to throw in some bourbon. I'm going to use Jim Beam's Devil's Cut on this. Between the apple and the bourbon, the balsamic and the barbecue, we're going to have a nice little flavorful glaze. We'll see here. Just going to blend that for a second. And that chewed that right up, so it's super, super thin. The applesauce isn't chunky anymore. That's a great taste. I like that. All right, I might put a touch more apple in it. That bourbon is a wonderful background to it. In fact, I'm gonna have to put a touch more of that in there because that's really wonderful. All right, I'm gonna blend this one more time. And again, we'll use this for glazing while it's smoking and after. Okay, got our sauce ready, got our apples sliced. All right, we brought the pork back out that was marinating for a few hours, and looks really good. Nice and soppy. We're gonna have to dry this off just a little bit because we're now gonna be like putting it together and smoking it, and don't need big sloppy pieces of meat. But the marinade did its job. Looks wonderful. Just gonna kind of pat dry some of the junk off of here. The sauce. All right, so we got those dried off. Here's the moment of truth, whether we're gonna end up with a braided loaf or a flat loaf. I'm gonna try one at a time before we do this. And again, because I don't have one big, giant, long pork loin like I want, I have a 2. Not sure if the braiding is gonna work, so I'm just gonna try one first. I've never made this recipe before. I woke up this morning and thought about all the variations of what I wanted to do with it, and it sounded really awesome, so I'm giving it a shot on the fly. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out by giving this one a shot braiding first. We're gonna open it up, and we are going to layer it with these thin apple slices in here. And we patted this dry already inside and out. It's a little bit damp, and that's fine. We want stuff to stick to it, but we want this apple, this really, really thin apple, to be cooked into here. These are what are they called? Sweet gold? No, gold. Oh shoot, something gold. Anyway, the sweet apples. I wanted sweet ones, not tart ones. And we're going to end up with this effect that's kind of like what they get the cheese in here. I'm going to show you in a minute. We're going to end up with something that's somewhere between a kind of an apple strudel but with meat, and then also kind of reminiscent of an apple baked brie. And if we get the breading done properly on the outside, it'll also kind of be like a chicken cordon bleu. So we're going to get all those apples in there, and we are going to layer inside a bunch of Swiss. There we go, all the way up into there. I think I may even want to double that up, because like, who doesn't love lots of cheese, right? I'm going to lay that over the top a little bit. Cheese is bomb diggity. This one down there, get it in there. This doubling up may make it harder to braid though, so I'm not going to go any further than that. I'm going to pop this back down, turn it over this way, and get out a big old knife and slice this into 3 strands that we can braid. There we go. That's already kind of like working its way apart, so I'm gonna get a stick down in there to make sure we can keep working this. I gotta keep these strands big enough. Nice. Make sure you got yourself a nice sharp knife that will go all the way through the apples and the cheese and the meat in nice clean slices. All right, keep that end together. I may have to use more sticks than I wanted to on this, again, because I don't have the leverage of big long pieces of meat on this one. The intent here then is to take one of these, bring it over the top. Yeah, this just isn't gonna work, they're not long enough. So we will have to go with more of just a straight loaf idea. Still gonna be all the same, just as good. There won't be anything here at the end. So I'm gonna use these actually now I'm gonna use a bunch of these to hold it all together now. So this one will be kind of the failed braid model. And then we'll do the other one's a flat loaf. Either way, we still want to come out at the end of the day with this after we get it off the smoker. The intent is to come out when we're all done with it. It's going to be close to cooked, but not all the way. We're going to smoke it really, really, really low so that it's more about the smoke and not the cooking. And the intent is to come after that and bring this thing out and egg wash it and then bread it, breadcrumb it, so to speak. But with, instead of high carb, we're going to do low carb with pork rinds instead of breadcrumbs, and roll it in those, and then bake that last crust onto it like a cordon bleu would have. All right, so let's do this one as just a straight up loaf. Again, sliced almost all the way through. I can give it a little bit more now because I'm not going to braid it. And we're going to get the apples in there. In fact, because we're not going to braid it, we can also go a little heavier on the contents if we want. And we are going to take that sauce we made, and we're going to brush some of that all over in here. During smoking, I believe that cheese should get just about soft enough, and the apple's starting to get kind of baked and smoky a little bit. But when we actually bake it for the crust, it should finish like the actual melting while we crisp up that outside crust. And if none of this works, then you'll never see this video and it'll all be trashed. But if you see in this video, then we're gonna be eating it, it's gonna be tasting good. All right, here we go. Let's close her up. Yeah. All right, I think we're gonna put a few steaks in this one too to make sure we can work with it and not lose it. Definitely want this thing to stay together. I think the egg washing and crusting, it's gonna be a very delicate operation later, to be honest, but we'll make it work. All right, I think we're there. All right, we're out here at the smoker. I've got a smoke tube loaded up also to get a little extra smoke, so I'm gonna get that lit. Get that those pellets kind of smoking on their own. There we go. And those will just kind of smoke on their own, get going, put even more smoke into the environment. This pork chop with all the slices looks like pinhead. It's got all these little things holding it together. I need to get some meat twine, or butcher's twine is what I need to do. I'm gonna get these going here. We're staying low, about 150, and just let these go for a few hours. Again, this phase is not really so much about cooking, although that'll happen to a certain degree. This is about getting that smoky flavor into there. I've got them on these mats just in case the cheese does start melting and dripping out, these cooking mats, but see how it goes. All right, they is smoking great. I've had these in here for, I don't know, couple and a half hours now. I've been slathering them every 45 minutes to an hour with the sauce we made earlier. I'm just doing a temp check on them, internal temp check. So it's up around 90, 95, depending on where you're at in the thing. This one that's sliced, 98, 99, 100. So that's great. They're getting lots of smoke. They're staying low, and that's still going to allow time for oven cooking later. All right, we have pulled these out of the smoker. They've been on there for about 3 hours, and they smell really good. You can see the sauce still on them and into it and soaking into it. You can see the red where the smoke got to it. Hopefully it's got enough smoke to make that part of the process worth it. Now I've got to, what I do want to do with the last part of the process is coat these in a breading type of situation and put them in the oven so that they can have a crispy shell as well. That's going to be hard to do with all these sticks, so we are going to work this carefully. The internal temperature on these, when I pulled them off of the smoker, was about 100, just over 100. You know, pork needs to get up to about 145, 150 to be kind of safe. So obviously we're not eating it at this temperature. We were just smoking it to that point and at a low smoking temperature. And now we're going to get this coating on it and get it in the oven. Now, with these coatings, you need something to stick it to the surface. And traditionally, you would do kind of an egg wash. I was talking about that earlier. I don't think I need to do an egg wash. I've got this wonderful sauce that we made. I can use that to stick it to it, and then the crust can cook onto it. To make that crust bake on crispy, we're going to bake it at about 400 degrees. So, and that should also finish up the pork on the inside to an internal temp that we need. So I'm going to move one at a time over to here. And, oh, I already did something I didn't want to do. I want to take my panko bread crust mix here and get it down on the bottom and on the top. But to do that first, I need to get my, my sauce going. This is that sauce we made with the applesauce and the bourbon and the other things, barbecue sauce, etc. This is the same sauce I've been basting on this every little bit out there on the smoker to keep it moist. All right, I'm gonna get it on the top, down the sides, and then very carefully, since this is, yeah, ooh, look at that. Remember it was sitting on that grid out on the smoker? You can see the smoke came through the bottom of that. It's all pinked up. There we go. Beautiful. So that should make this stuff stick to it really good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this this crust I made. This is blended up with spices and pork rinds. Trying to stay away from the carbs as much as I can. And I'm going to put a bed down on the bottom of this to stick to the bottom. gonna be a little bit harder. Oh, look at that cheese melted into like a, well, it got soft. Let's not say it melted yet. Yeah, this ingredient's kind of squeezing out because I went sideways with it. This is where I gotta be careful. And then I'm gonna work the rest of this stuff onto making it stick on there. I want this to bake on nice and crispy, so I'm gonna coat it up real good. The excess will get used on the next one, so I'm not worried about that. Pat that on there nice and firm. That should get us something decent from a crust perspective. I'm gonna cook it on this other pan that's got the lift on it so that the convection oven air can potentially get underneath of it and help crisp the bottom of it up too. And I've got a couple big heavy spatulas here if I need them. Right now I think I can get this by hand. One down, one to go. Let's rotate these over again. Now this one's got the slice. I kept the spikes going side to side to help hold this together because I do not want it falling apart because we didn't braid it. Let's get this sucker sauced up. The one good thing about the cuts in it, if I was to do this again without braiding, I think I'd still want to put some slices down it because that helps this sauce get into there. All right, it's all juiced up, but we do need to get the bottom as well, so here's where it gets a little crazy. See if I can pull this off. Oh, not too bad. As long as I don't let it go too long and start falling apart. Let's get saucy, buddy. Get saucy. All right. Get that on top of all these crumbs. So it's got some on the bottom. And we will start doing with the top as well. Lots of stuff left here on the sides to pack onto it. It's gonna work out just about perfect for two of them. A little more panko, or a little, not panko, but pork rinds. Bam. All right. All right, we got them both on the tray. We're gonna put in the oven. Again, I'm gonna go 400. I'm gonna start, this is, again, thicker cuts of meat. This isn't a little piece of chicken. I want it to cook all the way through. It's already internal to 100. I don't know exactly how many minutes. I'm gonna start with 30 and check the internal temp with a temp probe at 30 and make sure that we get to a safe spot before we take it out. So we'll start with 30 minutes. All right, time's right. Take this sucker out. Oh yeah, it's really good. We're doing an internal temp check on this really quick. Keep going, keep going. All right, we made it. We're in the 150s. So we broke the 145 point. Ooh, this end's a little hotter. It's yelling at me because it's so hot. This one's good. Let me check the bottom really quick too. Don't want any raw pork anywhere. All right, 150s. Ooh, that one's super hot. All right, so we're in the safe zone all over, someplace a little hotter than others. We are going to take one of these, get it over onto our beautiful serving board here. Ooh, that's the one that's got lots and lots of slices. I'm going to go with the solid one first. Oh yeah. Nothing like serving on walnut. I do see that a little bit of a cheese and apple came out on the side, but the cheese is like in a perfect place as far as just being stretchy and melty. So I ended up doing 400 degrees, and it was 30, and then I probably did another 10 to 15 as I was checking for internal temp. I'm going to pull these wood steaks out here. Whew. We're going to give this a slice and then open it up, see how she looks. Cutting like it should. All right. Oh, look at that. Beautifully done. But it looks like the cheese melted perfectly. It's exactly what I wanted it to look like inside, just nice and beautiful. We'll take slices of this and eat it. So we're gonna serve this in nice little slices like this. Let's see what it's gonna look like in a plated size. That cheese, that Swiss cheese all melted, and the apples all softened. It's gonna be just like that on the plate. That's beautiful. Alrighty.